to the back here, now we're going to kind of explore the periodic function and what it means. And so before we start, I want you to be able to fill in this diagram with the certain heights that you know. So again, just like previously, like pause the video, try this, and as you work through it, if you want to see if your answer is correct, then start playing it, but do try on your own. So can you fill in the heights of the unknown h's and r's? The diagram based on the information that was given earlier. And so we know that the total height of the Millennial Eye is 135 meters. We know the radius is 60 because the total diameter is 120. We know the height was 15 meters, right? Because if this is 135 and the diameter is 120, that's going to leave you with 15 meters there. And so if we think about this radius, if we go to the dashed line here, 15 plus our radius of 60 means that this halfway point of the Ferris wheel is 75 meters above the ground. All right? And so the last H is, well, what if you went 60 degrees from the start? How high above the ground are you? And so we're going to have to use a little trig here. I'm going to draw in a right triangle. So I'm going to draw this horizontal line here that's level with where you would be off the ground. This is going to create a right triangle that has a 60-degree angle in there. And we'll know that the height, right, if we can find this height here, h is going to equal 75 minus that value. And so the question is, what is this value x? Well, we know that the radius is 60. We have a right triangle, and x here, what we're looking for, is adjacent to our angle, right? 60 is the hypotenuse, x is adjacent. So what relates adjacent and hypotenuse? That's cosine of 60 is equal to x over 60, right? Adjacent over hypotenuse. So we now know what x is equal to. X equals 60 cosine 60. And so we can plug that in right here. And so that's 75 minus 60 cosine 60. And so when you plug this into your calculator, before you do, check your mode. Make sure you are in this degree mode. If you are not, you will get the wrong answer, and that will be a shame. So typing that in. I entered multiply instead of add or subtract, minus. And so you get 45 degrees. We are 45 degrees off the ground at 60 degrees. Okay, and so that's how you work through number 6. The last part here is how long did it take? We know we go 12 degrees per minute, and I went 60 total degrees. So what would I need to multiply 12 by to get to 60? Well, this would be 5 minutes. So it takes me 5 minutes to get to that 45-meter height off the ground. Make sure you understand this before moving on to the next step. Where did we get these heights from? All right, the next question is, how high off the ground are you at t equals 0, t equals 15, and t equals 7.5? So again, looking at our diagram, we know at t equals 0, we are at the beginning. We're at 15 meters. Okay, so if that's where the time starts, we're at the bottom, we're at 15 meters. At 15 minutes, well, if it's 30 minutes to go all the way around and we're going at a constant speed, well, 15 is half, and so I'm at the top. And so at t equals 15 minutes, I must be at 135 meters. Right? So again, because it took 30 minutes to go all the way around, at 15 minutes, I must be halfway all the way around, which gets me to the top. And lastly, at 7.5 minutes, well, 7.5 splits 0 and 15, so that's halfway between the bottom and the top, which must be here. And so I must be at 75 meters. Okay, and so we're going to use that information moving forward. And so at what other heights are you at the same height as when you're at t equals 7.5? Well, because we're going around in a circle, once I reach the top, I'm going to move back down, and so I'm at the same height again here, right? This is again at 75 meters. And so at what time? Well, if it took me 7.5 to get here, this took me 15, it must take another 7.5 minutes to get down there. And so that answer must be t equals 22.5 minutes. All right. So filling in this table, we already know the first few here. So at 0, we're at 15. At 7.5, we're at 75. At 15, we're at 135. We just found at 22.5, we're back down to 75. At 30, that was one revolution. We completed one cycle. We're back down to 15. And now we're going to repeat, right? So at 15, I'm going to go back up to 75. At 45, I'm now at the top. So that's going to be 135. Then I'm back down to 75. 60 is 2 revolutions, or 2 cycles, so I'm back down to 15. And so we have this pattern here. So number 10, you and your friends stay on the ride. Explain how your height off the ground changes with time. It's going to change in this cyclical pattern. So your height changes in a cyclical pattern or a periodic pattern. And what I mean by that is you can tell, like, if I'm at 0, right? So if we're here, I know in 30 minutes I'm going to be back there. And then in 30 minutes I'm going to be back there. When I'm at the top, right, at 15 minutes, I know every 30 minutes I'm going to be back at the top. Right? And so there's this cyclical pattern that's happening, this periodic pattern, that over a certain interval I'm going to reach the same height again, periodic function. Right? And so there we have page 2.